Just for a couple days.
I was gonna say, I only saw you that one time.
Yeah, no, I was just in for Saturday and Friday night, Saturday, and then Sunday. That was it.
I was waiting for an herbs and gerbs invite, but
yeah, I didn't
herbs
get
and rye. Sorry, herbs and rye.
Yeah, I didn't get over there because I had too much going on Saturday and Sunday to go out either night before, and then Monday they're closed. So, or Sunday they're closed. Sunday or Monday, whatever. Sunday they're closed. So
sure, it's disappointing.
Anyways, good to see everybody.
Yeah, Chris, show us your pool room.
Well, this is
his way of saying get out of the way.
Yeah, this is just a little room with my table in it.
Nice.
Pretty much it. Not as nice as Jim's.
Yeah. So how'd that match go? Anyways, I missed that first round of the European Open.
I didn't bring it up.
We can talk about it if you want to. It doesn't matter.
No. I'm
pretty sure everybody knows the result.
So I was expecting you, Jim, to say I got nothing. I was going to say that's exactly what happened.
Look, he's not the first one to beat me 9-0. Mark Gray did it to me at the GB9.
Yeah.
But when the stars align and everything falls on one side and nothing on the other side, then these results happen. And Chris played well. I think he'll admit at the start of the match, I think the first 5 racks, he apologised to me 6 times.
Yeah.
In the first 5 racks. And I turned up after 2 weeks of being on holiday and throwing my daughter around the swimming pool and pulling luggage around. I flared up an old shoulder injury from football. Sorry, I'm not going to call it soccer. I'll call it football.
Years ago, to call it a war injury.
Yeah, and then just picking up my daughter, I just was sitting in my seat. I turned around to pick her up, and I ripped the muscle all along the side of my stomach here.
Wow.
So the tournament started at least one day too early for me, and I just basically I played on the Monday night to practice because I hadn't played for, obviously I'd been on holiday, I hadn't played for over 2 weeks. So I thought I need to get on the tables and hit some balls. And it didn't feel too bad, but then it started to, especially my shoulder, started to feel sore on the Monday. So I stopped a little bit earlier than I wanted to. Yeah. Then I woke up on the Tuesday morning and it was just basically my shoulder was frozen and my stomach was.
Yeah, that's no good.
So,
age.
But Chris played well. He did play well. He certainly played better against me than he did in the match that I sat and watched against Benji. That one, I got pumped, and then I managed to just scrape the second match on that day. I managed to scrape through mainly because my opponent was, let's just say, very poor. I could have switched arms and gone left-handed to save my shoulder, and probably could have still won the match. And then the day after that, I played and I felt a bit better. Filled myself up with paracetamol. I played pretty well, but the guy I was playing was a top German player, and he beat me 8-6. It was a really good match.
Who was it? You played someone good. Who was it? Dorenberg.
Yeah, he got.
He's a really good player.
He got beaten the last 64 by Shane.
Yeah, he's a good player.
And I could have had him. I missed one ball, and it was the 8 ball at 7-6 down. I tried to force an angle out of it, and you can't do it on those tables. To get better on the 9 ball, didn't want to be on the rail, and it hung there, and he beat me 8-6. It was a good match. I played all right. And that was it.
Chris and Jim, how was the arena?
Good. It's exactly the same as last year. There was more people there this time, I think, Jim, wasn't there?
They had a nice crowd this year.
Yeah. On the Saturday, they filled out. On the Saturday, there was over 500 people in there. And even on the weekdays, where people are working and stuff like that, there was still a pretty decent crowd in there. So it was a nice atmosphere. They all tend to congregate around, the same tables, which means you maybe got one group of 4 tables has got a really, really nice atmosphere, because either people are just watching one table and the atmosphere boils over onto the other tables, So you've always got like one group of 4 tables that are the atmosphere is really, really good. And then on the Saturday and Sunday, the atmosphere was great. It dropped slightly when Filler got beat, but that's to be expected, But listen, they were given great entertainment,
Sure, it was great.
3 of the 4 quarterfinals going hill. The final going hill. I mean, you couldn't ask for any more as far as entertainment goes and excitement. So it was.
And the semifinals within 2 games, right?
Semi-finals were both very close as well.
Yeah.
So which is, I mean, completely opposite. You know, I mean, when you look at the results of the UK Open, there was quite a few blowouts towards the end of the tournament. And then you've got people shouting about winner breaks is not the way to go. It has to be alternate break to stop these things. But and you see it here, it can go the other way as well. And you know, it created some great storylines. And we saw some matches where guys were down maybe about 4 racks getting towards the end of the match, and then somebody gets on a run like Alcaide did, being 8-5 or maybe even 8-4 down in the final, and he got on a run to get back to 11-8, and then Raga got on a run to get it back to 12-12. So you get these, it's momentum. It's all about momentum in these matches when you're playing the winner breaks. And if you can just you spot moments in the match where the momentum shifts, and that creates excitement. And you think, okay, can he get on a run? Can he get things here? You know? Yeah, thoroughly enjoyable. I was a fan for longer than I wanted to be when I was there, or even expected to be. But it was a good tournament to be a fan at. Really enjoyed it. And it's my favorite. It's my favorite venue as well out of all the open venues, because it has that separate room at the side with all the vendors, and it's like the where all the fun happens, and they've got a couple of tables there where people are playing little challenge matches on. The pros come out and they play matches against the kids and stuff like that, and gives everybody a frame, and people get the photo opportunities. People can have a beer, they can talk normally and have a little bit of fun without disturbing the play on the tables inside. So really enjoyable. Yeah,
good.
Yeah, Chris, any thoughts on it?
Nope. That's exactly what Jim said. Really, it is the best venue this side of the pond. I think the UK is close, but it just doesn't have the same amount of people that turn up to watch it. But the Germans absolutely love it, and there was quite a lot of people travelled to watch it this time. So there's some people from England had travelled. Quite a lot of people from Poland travelled. Obviously,
from the Philippines.
A lot of Filipinos found their way over there too.
From the Philippines as well.
Yeah. That's that's kind of what happens to me. That's why I always say, pick a venue and stick with it for a couple of years and start to build some following. Build a we need to be there type of atmosphere. Mm-hmm. And I think they've done a good job of that in Fulda after 2 years. Hopefully, they're getting to that point at the U.S. Open. I mean, I'm not an Atlantic City fan, but I think it's a smart move, and I think it works as long as they stick with it and develop some following there. So, I like the way they're doing that.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, it's a great event to watch from home. Unfortunately, I was in Vegas for most of it, which is why we haven't been doing a show for the last few weeks. He spent 15 days in Vegas working like 13 to 14 hours a day in a booth.
Yeah.
It's not exactly fun.
No.
So, and then you need a little recovery time from that when you get back. So, yeah. Apologies, everybody out there. That's the reason why we haven't been doing a show. I was in Vegas, and Jim is too lazy to take it over when he's playing in tournaments.
Well, I just happened to have been in Turkey for 2 weeks, and then in Germany. I put some stuff on.
You did. You were filling some spots.
I've worked harder than you have the last 3 weeks, Mindham.
You've worked harder than me in the last 10 years combined.
I was going to say 26 years. Did you fall asleep in the booth, Nate?
No, I would never do that.
Eric Groff says you fell asleep in the booth.
I may or may not have fallen asleep a couple times.
I cannot deny or confirm these rumors.
Yeah, because he was asleep.
Because he was asleep.
I can neither confirm nor deny. I will just say that
2 weeks in Vegas is a long time.
2 weeks in Vegas is a long time, and sometimes blinks are very misleading.
Yeah.
Maybe I was just having a very elongated blink. You just never truly know. So, but it was actually pretty cool. I got to meet a lot of the podcast listeners. We'll give a shout out to Eric. I got to meet him out there for the first time. Bill, got to meet him out there. Well, I don't want to start going on names because then I'm going to forget people. Then I'm going to feel like a dick. So those two, we'll just give you those two as a shout out.
And the rest.
And the rest. Sorry, there was a lot of people swung by. So that was awesome. It's good to see everybody. Good to meet everybody. Good to put a face to the names. I don't know. I guess do we have anything else? I know the European Open was a couple weeks ago at this point. It's been kind of talked about. Do we want to talk about the shot that everybody is now an expert on?
Not really.
I wouldn't give it too much. I mean, it's been covered on social media, and the people that you should listen to who know what they're talking about have generally all said the same thing. There's 3 parts to that shot. It's your tip position on the cue ball, how hard you hit it, and the angle that you hit the 7. And all three of them, all 3 of the ways he approached it and all 3 sides meant that he missed it. You shouldn't be hitting low on the cue ball.
You should be hitting high, or at least middle.
Or middle. You should just be punching it stop shot. You should be hitting it harder, and you should be hitting the 7 fuller. Simple as that. But I think what most have agreed on is he's tried to control the 7 ball in some fashion.
Exactly.
And he's just tripped himself up with that, you know. And it's easy now for people to say, yeah, he should have just forgot about the 7 and made sure he makes a 6. But when you look at that shot, you think he can't miss it, you know. And
that's the thing. Yeah,
you think he can't miss it, and he's just tried to get a little bit too cute with it, and maybe just.
Well, that's the pressure of being in that situation, knowing you're 2 balls away, right? And
you have a shot.
You want everything to be perfect, and you've seen everybody try to be perfect on those last balls. You saw Federer try to be perfect, you know, against Filler, and it cost him. So, you know, top players in those moments, you know, your mind's racing, the clock's racing, your arm's twitching, and you have to make a fast decision. Sometimes it doesn't work out.
And it's easy for people at home to sit and say, he should have done this, he should have done that. Or even they say, I would have done this, I would have done that. Well, I tell you, you wouldn't have been there in the first place.
You'd have missed the 5 and the 6 ball.
and you wouldn't have run 7 and out against Copigny, and you wouldn't have destroyed Wojtek, and you wouldn't have, you know, I mean, the guy. I mean, what I will say, I mean, you can talk about that shot and the fact that he didn't go for the 2 ball in the rack before at 12-11. These are things that people are talking about. For me, from what I saw from Raga being in the arena, his shot clock management was not great. You know, there was quite a lot of shots where he had to make a decision rather than he was making the decision he wanted to make. You know, and he wasn't using his extension all the time at the correct times. He was using them way too early in the racks. You see, David he won't use it at the start of the rack unless he's in real trouble. You know, but Raga was looking for the perfect safety a lot of the time and taking his extension, and then he didn't have the extension for later on in the rack. And there was quite a few times that I saw him hitting shots. I'm thinking, you've just hit that because you have to now, you know, and. I think his shot clock management was poor. David said that he, as soon as the balls broke in the final rack, he knew it was going to be a safety battle, so he didn't want to use his shot clock to his extension too early. Raga used it immediately. So then he didn't have
David used it early too, though. David used it early too,
though. He didn't want to. In his head, as soon as the break went, he saw a safety battle and thought, I need to be keeping my shot for as long as possible.
You know, I was watching that, and I kept thinking, if you're a player, the worst situation you want to be in, to me, would be a safety battle on the hill in the championship match, because everything is so millimeter difference in a safety battle. If it's an open table, if it's a, you know, if the other guy shoot, you hope to get back to the table, but a safety, it reminded me of the David Jeremy match in the Mosconi Cup a couple of years ago. You know, that final wreck, it's a safety battle, and it's so, I can't imagine what they're going through when their arms are shaking and their minds racing, and they've got to be like millimeter precise on a safety, otherwise they're going to sell out. That to me, that was, and to me as a fan, that's what got me on the edge of the seat. It was like, okay, who's going to blink first? And you go through 4 or 5 rounds of safeties, and it was intense.
Yeah, throughout the years, that's what makes the difference between the great champions and just the very good players. You know, the ability to do that, and it depends who you are. If you were to approach both the players at the start of the final rack, if you said to David, "Do you want a safety battle here?" He'll say no, because it's a break. If you say to Raga, "Do you want a safety battle here?" He'll say, "I'll take it."
Yeah,
because I don't have the break here. You know, so you know,
it seems that it always works out that way, where the final rack is never a break and run.
It's never a break and run, is it? The final rack, never.
Yeah, very.
There's always something a bit funny that happens, you know. And it was excitement as a fan. It was brilliant to watch, you know. And I think people need to lay off Raga a little bit. There's been some people that have had a bit of a go about it, kind of thing, and about refusing the 2 ball at 12. For me, refusing the 2 ball at 12-11 was a bigger error from him. That was a chance. You know, that was a free chance for him, really. You know. I would have. Yeah, I think most top champions, they would have taken on that 2 ball. And if they didn't get good on the 3, they play safe. Or the 4, I think, was the next one. If they don't get good, they play safe. But I think they all have a go at that 2-ball.
They probably do, but I think most of them also agreed that the safety was pretty easy. He just did a lousy job of it.
He played it poorly. Yeah, but he did the one thing that you couldn't afford to do. But what a shot from David. The 2-ball was not easy for him.
No, it was a hell of a shot from David from the rail on the 2-ball.
Yeah,
it sure was.
I mean, you could say that Raga hasn't really sold out there. He's given David an opportunity, but it's not what you'd call a sellout, really, because it was still a really tough shot, especially in that situation.
I thought he actually missed it. I thought he was going to hang it.
Yeah. So good stuff. It was great seeing Raga out there. It was great seeing him do well, because I think that you could tell by his reaction from it that now he wants to get back out there and play these events. He was always a stay-at-home money guy to this point. And now I think he just, he's got the itch to go out there and compete, and hopefully more of the Filipino players will follow, because it sure is more exciting when they're out there, isn't it?
Yep. Really.
They have a playing style that's very pleasing to the eye.
Yeah.
I'm actually very, very surprised at how many people found it such a big shock that he got to the final. I mean, the guy is an absolute monster. He's only 25 years old, and he's been a monster since he was 13. He's basically done the same as Filler, except he hasn't travelled. But he's battling against Orcolos and Bustamantes since he's been like 12, 13-year-old. The guy is a seasoned, proper.
Right, but the atmosphere, the tournament makes it different. He's not been in that kind of arena. And the first, it wasn't the first event he played in. I think he played something else earlier, didn't do well.
There's no chickens running around and cats chasing him.
it's a different atmosphere that you got to get used to. For him to go all the way to within, a couple balls of winning it, to me was a little bit surprising. But for him to do well, shouldn't have been surprising to anybody who follows pool at all.
But I mean, I think that a couple of things happened early on in the tournament that gave him a great big lift, and to do what he did to Copen Yi. I mean, and there was a massive crowd around that table watching it, and they were getting rowdy. They were screaming and shouting. So he got given that atmosphere early on in the tournament, even on one of the back tables, because of what he was doing to Cole, and he managed to play absolutely faultless against him. Yeah. So that probably gave him quite a lift and a bit of confidence as well.
Got to give Cole some credit. When he loses, he takes the day off.
Hey, listen, if Cole can lose 9-0.
Yeah. Some of the best players in the field lost 9-0.
That's it. All the best players lose 9-0. We don't get beat 9-8.
No.
Chris had to take a drink after that. Chris, why are you so red right now?
I got sunburnt yesterday. I went for a walk, in the baking sun for a few hours, and now I got sunburn. It's not good. Not good.
Thought maybe you're just nervous from this conversation.
No.
Well, I mean, stepping back and taking like a 50-foot view of this, how happy is Matchroom after this? Second straight match or tournament with the Hill finals, and not only Hill. I mean, like exciting all the way through Hill. I mean, Matchroom has got
not the usual suspects in either.
Exactly. New players, new stories, new backgrounds. It's absolutely perfect for them. Absolutely,
it is. This is the way you find heroes and guys.
This is kind of what we expected to happen. 9-ball is not a game. I mean, we've said it before, and what Sanchez Ruiz did for like 18 months it just shows you how exceptional that was. Because to try and dominate this game in this format, 9-ball, I mean, it's going to be so difficult to do, and we're going to see so many players having their cracks at winning titles, and it's going to be great. There's going to be every tournament. There's going to be guys in there where you're thinking, wow, okay, what a tournament this guy's had, Yeah. And I think it's great. There's going to be new names. There's going to be new heroes. There's going to be new champions. I think it's fantastic. Yeah.
Well, I know we're going to get on to the Mosconi Cup discussion at some point, but what it does is it, especially for Europe, it really throws everything up in the air every tournament. Every tournament. If Bisterbash had won the previous tournament and David had won this tournament, it would be chaos at the top of the rankings. Chaos, which is fun. It's great stuff.
It is. I mean, it could just be a couple of dollars in it between qualifying and not qualifying. Yeah. And fourth spot is just as good as 20th. Your captain doesn't have to pick you.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, obviously FSR is already going to be in. The U.S. Open is going to be absolutely incredible.
Alcaide is in the hot seat, isn't he?
Yeah. He is, but I mean, he's got 4 players. Well, I guess Eklund, you can't really throw him in there anymore. But he's got still 3 players just nipping on his heels. I mean, this is the majesty of the way that Matchroom set up this ranking system.
It's going to be a last longer tournament for sure, dude. Everybody's going to be watching.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be, you're going to be looking over your shoulder constantly. Could you imagine a situation where like David's on table number 9 and maybe Mark is right next to him and Fedor's across the hall, and you just look up at David and he's like looking over here at what's happened.
Yeah,
they can all go there and turn around and say, "Oh yeah, I just want to try and win the tournament, and I know that if I do well, then it doesn't really matter what other people do, so I'm not watching them." Yeah, that's what you're supposed to say, but it's bullshit.
You know damn well.
Not only that, but you're going to know who got the better draw.
Exactly. You'll be looking at the bracket. You'll be seeing who you're up against. Arcadia will be looking to see where Jason is in the bracket. Jason will be looking to see where they'll all be watching each other. Yeah. Trust me. They can say whatever they want.
I just want to see a couple of them draw each other when it goes to single elimination 64.
Yeah, but you want to see that at the Asian Open. When there's like 4 guys that are in the race for the last spot. And they end up having to play each other, because even if they play each other at the US Open, they've still got another chance at the Asian Open. They get points,
Yeah.
There's going to be exciting stuff.
Yeah.
And Ralph Eckert is going to have to make the selection. Surprise?
Surprise? Not yes and no. I mean, I didn't. I mentioned him once, but I wasn't 100%. I thought that it would not be a player. That much did not surprise me. I did not think it was going to be a former player. I thought it was going to be. I had even mentioned Gunther Geissen's name is, the German coach and Filler's coach and things like that. He's a pretty good instructor, coach, teacher, things like that. But I really did think it was going to be someone who wasn't, a Darren or a Niels or something like that. And when I saw Eckert sitting in the stands at a couple of the earlier matches, it was worth a mention. But surprised, but don't have a problem with it at all.
When everybody saw him at the tournament, everybody saw him like the first second day. And
especially sitting in the 3rd row, right behind the TV table, sitting there 3 rows up. I'm looking at him like,
It's kind of obvious. It was almost obvious, almost, because he's never been at them before. I didn't know he'd never been involved in the Mosconi Cup before. I thought he'd
never
played.
as a player.
Never even played.
No,
he got kind of overlooked one year.
Yeah,
and he was European number 1 for the majority of the year, but then when the selection came through, he dropped out to number 2, and then he didn't get a pick.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Great. Maybe he deserves it.
That was back in the day. That was back in the days where number 1 got in and
everything else was handpicked.
Everything else was handpicked by Matchroom, basically.
Yeah, it was the snooker players, right?
Yeah, Steve.
Yeah, Steve Davis and those guys, and Jimmy White. Yeah.
So what do we think of the pick?
It's the Nuggets' birthday, Jim.
It is.
It is the Nuggets' birthday. 66, I think.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
What do we think of the pick? Do we think it's a good choice, bad choice? What do you think, Chris?
It's the easiest sports management job in the world, I think.
Well, I'll tell you what. Like what Mike said earlier, if Mark Bijsterbosch wins the Spanish Open, and obviously Eklund's fallen out, but if David Alcaide's up there, there's a wrench thrown into this. This might actually be a coaching job.
Well,
you might end up having a
coaching job. His biggest thing is the microscope he's going to be under for the 5th pick, because one of the picks we all know is Jason, whether he's in the rankings or not. So it comes down to 1 pick. And that's going to be, if David's in there, all of a sudden it's Albin and Federer, and if Federer doesn't make number 3, or whatever, there could be some really interesting names in that. Who do I pick out of 4 or 5 players?
We can simplify this very easily. If Filler and Jason do not qualify in the top 3, it's Filler and Jason.
Of course,
he's not going to not pick Filler, is he?
No.
So
of course. So
guys, the rest of you better get in the top 3, because you're not getting wild cards, in my opinion.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. If Jason makes the top 3, it
gives him a little bit. It gives him some flexibility, I think.
Yeah.
But
there was quite a lot of chatting about Fedor whenever he gets a citizenship switching? Is that possible? Like,
We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it in 5 years.
Yeah.
It couldn't possibly be sooner than that anyway. So there's a lot.
There is a yeah. I think this is a WPA rule, so I'm not sure how it would pertain to match.
Yeah, that'll be great.
But I'm pretty sure. Now, don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure because I'm being Dutch and British kind of thing when I got my Dutch nationality. If you want to change nationalities, you have to have not represented the other nationality for a period of 3 years.
Yeah, that's kind of a USOC kind of.
Yeah. So how does Federer play pool without representing Russia, basically? Because I mean, who's he representing now?
Nobody. He's under the neutral one,
so,
right?
So has officially then his 3 year period of not representing Russia, has that begun? Or
I guess so. I mean,
if this was to continue for 3 years and Russian athletes not be allowed to represent Russia but still be allowed to play, in 3 years' time he could technically turn around and say, oh, you know what, I haven't represented. But if he plays Mosconi Cup in that period, then he has. You know?
Well, does it still? If you're playing under a neutral flag, I mean, are you actually still representing Russia in the Mosconi Cup?
No, but you're not allowed to change your nationality.
Yeah, but you said that you have to play under a flag.
The Mosconi Cup is, you know.
I mean, I guess you're playing under the EU flag at that point.
I don't know exactly how it works with matching. I'm not entirely sure if there's even a rule to say if you've played for one, you can't play for the other.
And then does it really matter when what does it really matter when the WPA and Matchroom have like such animosity towards each other that they're going to go against the WPA rules just for the fun of it?
I don't think Matchroom's looking too much.
The Mosconi Cup has nothing to do with WPA.
Right. So they should. Why would they look?
Why would the rules matter?
Look at?
No, but he's going to play the world. He's going to play World Championships in that period of time.
Yeah.
If the WPA could turn around and say, "Okay, now you're Russian again. We're letting you represent Russia," then he's screwed. He can't. I mean, this is all hypothetical. I don't think he's ever going to play for USA.
Yeah,
he doesn't want to play for USA. He wants to win. He's going to get in the European team pretty much standard. You know, you would imagine 80% of the time at least. And he wants 40 grand and not 20 grand. So,
well, I'll tell you. I mean, if Shane is still playing, a core three of Shane, Sky, and
give them a better chance, but it's not a guarantee like it would be if he's in the European team, basically. You know?
Yeah. I don't know. The U.S. competes pretty well, and they're pretty outclassed, and no one's going to
argue
that.
So you think Federer in the USA team makes USA favorite to beat Europe?
No, I think it's pretty close to a coin flip.
Yeah, but if he's in the European team, Europe are massive favourites. So which one would you pick if it was 40 grand you were trying to win?
How is that a massive favorite? How is he a massive? Is he really that big of a difference over his replacement in Europe? He is that big of a difference.
It doesn't matter. He's still playing for the team that's a massive favourite.
What I'm telling you is that him being replaced on Europe. So let's say it's not Federer. Let's say it's FSR instead, or if it's Jason, or it's Josh, somebody like that, Albin. That's not that big of a difference. Him over Earl, that is a massive difference.
Yes, but
what Jim's talking about is
it still only makes him a coin flip.
Yeah, he's talking about
Federer. So Federer playing for USA makes him a coin flip for 40 grand. Federer playing in Team Europe, he's a favourite. It doesn't matter who he replaces; they're big favourites.
Right.
Okay.
He wants 40 grand. He's taking that route.
Yeah. What I'm saying is, if Federer plays on the US, it's damn near a coin flip every year.
It could be
pretty close to that.
They're certainly got more of a chance, but yeah.
I mean, when you're sporting out, I mean, top three: Shane, Federer, and Sky. Tyler's historically been a great representative. And then you got to throw whoever you want. I mean, Shane Wolford at this point, he's on a track to be a really, really good player in the next, let's say, 2 to 3 years. You run out that three, or even Billy, somebody like that. I mean, you're looking at a pretty strong team.
I think it's a bit of a fairy tale to think that Federer will ever pull on the American jersey.
I don't see why he ever would, personally. I mean,
why do we keep having this conversation?
I don't know, because we hate our lives.
because we spend too much time on Facebook reading other people's arguments about it. And now it's been embedded in our brains like a virus.
By the hour.
We're being dragged down to the swamps of Facebook arguments.
What about the USA captain? No surprise there for me.
No, not at all.
Well, okay.
If it would not have been Jeremy.
I got one question. What has to happen for him not to get selected?
They have to lose 11-2, have mutiny on the team, and have a replacement that they think is perfect.
They have to have an option.
Swords pulled.
Yeah.
I just think they have to have an option.
Yeah.
If you don't take,
Yeah,
you
That's
can't pick it.
That's probably the biggest problem.
Yeah, I mean, unless you want to go and say, all right, let's bring another European captain over here. Maybe they bring Alex Lely over here and give him a stint over here. I mean, unless they have an option, like if you just look U.S. bound, who's going to replace him? Who even has a chance to have that?
Emily wouldn't give me any names, but as far as I'm aware, there was seven applicants for the European position. Ralph wasn't actually one of them. Matchroom approached Ralph. And 5 for the USA team, but I don't have any names, so I couldn't tell you who the other 4 are and whether it was even a competitive selection or whether it was even.
Well, clearly it wasn't because they gave it to somebody who didn't apply.
Yeah,
No, I'm talking about the USA.
The
USA side. So there was 5 people, Jeremy being one of them. I don't know who the other 4 candidates are. I don't know whether it was a competitive selection or whether it was just completely obvious right from day one that it had to be Jeremy. But,
I mean, the only person that I could possibly think of, and now I'm like blanking on his name, the short guy, curly hair, Mike.
Nick Varner.
Nick Varner?
Yeah, but Nick Varner.
He's
like
like
the only
CJ Wiley, maybe? CJ Wiley?
CJ Wiley's
no, CJ
crazy.
Wiley.
I'm just saying I'd pick him. I'm just saying, if you're looking for the type of person, he's played in it before.
He'll be telling you the table's round and the earth is flat and.
He was vice captain before, though.
He did it. No, he did it one time. He did it one time. I remember him turning up in some sort of crocodile-skinned jacket or something like that in Bethnal Green years ago. Yeah,
Nick Varner's the only person.
Some names here, but he's done it before. I like the likes of Tony Robles or something like that. Yeah. Or I think somebody bringing in. You could bring back Rodney Morris to do it. I think he'd be quite entertaining. Sorry,
Kim Davenport, is he still around?
Don't think he's not really very active though, is he? And
I don't think that matters. Look at
you have to be from a certain age group to even know who Kim Davenport is, I think. And with the younger fans will be asking the question, "Who's Kim Davenport?" Yeah. I mean, I don't think you don't want somebody who's been that far away from the game for that amount of time. I think it has to be somebody who's relatively recent.
Yeah, I'm thinking like you can make an argument that Nick Varner's certainly a top 5 U.S. player ever, and one of the most respected amongst his peers. I mean, you could make an argument that he would have the respect of the players, even the new generation. I just don't think – I do like the Tony Robles one. I haven't thought about that. I don't hate that. I kind of like that choice, but there's just aren't any options. I think Jeremy – I don't know that Jeremy – I mean, if I'm going to be unfair to Jeremy, I think he got a really bad hand in the first 2 years. The first year being the COVID year, I think the second year being the year that he had to step in and play. And then, so last year I think was his first real test as the captain. And I don't think he did a good job. I don't think that he did a good job at all. I don't see why you would throw Earl out there as many times as he did on day 3, just basically to train wreck the entire thing. I mean, they were competitive going into day 3, and I think Earl played 3 matches on day 3 and lost them all.
But one of them is the fans' choice.
Yeah.
Sure.
So he didn't put him out for that one,
Yeah,
I don't think
saw it, he had to see it coming.
Well, this is he has to see it coming, but that's European people that are voting because they want to see Earl. The Americans should have been out there out voting the Europeans and saying we want Shane or we want Sky on there.
The Americans wanted Earl too.
Unless the American fans are also sabotaging their own team.
They're not sabotaging the team. They just wanted to see Earl. They just want to see. It's a show. It's entertainment. Yeah. It's a show for them as much as it is for anybody else.
It's the WWE at that point. Yeah. Some people don't want to watch MMA. Some people want to watch WWE.
And believe me, there's still a lot of American fans who think Earl, should have been on the team, and Earl should be on the team this year, and Earl should be a captain, and so believe me,
I get that.
There's a lot of fans out there like that. So, but yeah, you had to know that was coming. So then you try to maybe avoid 2 more matches for him on the same day. It's possible. I'm not criticizing his choices at all because that's not my area of expertise.
Well, one thing I can tell you, I mean, I've spoke a lot with Sky and Billy and Tyler at these events. The last few events I've been to, a little bit with Shane as well. They all wanted to be Jeremy. They all think he's the best guy for the job. They buy into his way of thinking. They buy into his way of leadership. They haven't always followed the captains that have been put in front of them, but this is one guy that they will follow and they'll listen to and they trust. And that's very
Nobody
important.
doesn't respect
It's massively important. It's massively important, you know. So I mean, at the end of the day, if the players were to get together and say, and were to ask who do you want as captain, they'd all choose Jeremy. So he's a perfect captain for that team. You know, if you're talking about Shane, Skylar, Tyler, and let's say Billy gets in, because Billy's pretty close, you know, and he's improving all the time. Every tournament he's playing a little bit better. They all want him.
Yeah, the only thing that I had mentioned a couple of times that I was concerned about was his increased role at Matchroom and what that would do to his availability. Because you saw after 2 years ago, Emily saying, about Carl, he's not going to be a vice captain because, we're not going to have our pundits also be in this situation and things like that. And Jeremy's not at Carl's level of involvement just yet. But he's starting to get to be a pretty valuable guy in the Matchroom equation. And at what point does that become a barrier for him to be able to do both jobs in Emily's eyes, right? So that's the only thing that gave me pause at all in the whole situation.
I do agree with you that he's the best man for the job as far as the player's concerned. Every you can't find anybody that has a bad word to say about Jeremy, unless you just don't like, for some reason, his commentary or something like that. But as far as him as like a character and him as a person, he's a gem. I mean, he's one of the best that this industry has known. But how long does that give him for a runway to be able to be the coach every year? It's the only thing, because I mean, you give him the first pass for the first 2 years, but like I said, I think that there was coaching decisions last year that you could look at with a raised eyebrow and say, well, were these the best decisions? But like you said, I mean, there's no alternative. So I think he's gonna be the captain until either he can't do it anymore because his role's too big with Matchroom, or they find an alternative. Who's going to be an alternative? Unless I don't even think you could put Shane in there when he eventually ultimately retires. I just don't see how you could put with what he's done. This rolling his eyes, his like being completely distant from his teammates when he's playing Scotch doubles. How can you put him in a captain's role after all of that? I don't even know who you can pick coming up that could be a Matchroom or a Mosconi Cup captain. You look at Europe and you could look at Niels, you can look at Darren, you could look at a bunch of players that are kind of aging out, even Torsten to potentially. There's nobody coming up like that in the US.
But I think the best captains have been not stellar players themselves, right? Over the entire time. So you got
the best captain was never a player.
Yeah.
You got to start looking a little bit left field maybe in the US to try and find somebody different.
We got a lot of left field here.
Left field is their sweet spot.
But yeah, you got to start looking abroad. Really, you got to start looking to mainland Europe and start picking people up if it's not going to be Jeremy. But you can't see it not being him for quite a long time.
Oh, here we go. Sky's in the house.
Oh, that was right. Yeah, there was a scheduling change for day 3 or day 2, end of day 2.
Yeah. I'll buy that.
Interesting.
Sky would know.
Sky Woodward watches the podcast. Must be good.
I think he's the best player on the team. I think he's the best player on the team.
He's the best performing American at the moment.
Well,
even forget about the team. I mean, he's been the best performing player on the Mosconi team for the last 5 years probably.
Yeah.
And now in tournament play, he's probably the best performing.
Yeah, for sure. The best. Yeah, well, it shows in the ranks.
He's the first pick, isn't he? He's the first pick, so he's performed the best. You know.
Yeah.
He's performed the best, but he's probably got he's got it nailed on when it comes to pairing up with new partners and things as well. He's a more calming influence than what Shane is, just like you were talking about.
He's a lot easier to play with than anybody else in the American side, for sure.
Yeah.
His goofy, fun-loving attitude is pretty easy to play with. It's intoxicating, right?
Yeah, but the thing with Sky that I've noticed getting to know him better as we see each other more often at tournaments. He's one of those guys that he never worries about stuff that you don't need to worry about.
Exactly.
You've got a lot of players out there, they start worrying about everything. They start worrying about what shaft on the cue, what tips on the cue, and they start worrying about the temperature in the arena or how the tables play. And everything is a potential problem. Sky doesn't even bother about. He doesn't care about all that crap. All he worries about is potting the ball. And
I think Sky.
ball,
I think Sky's entire bag. Speaking to it doesn't really matter what's on your tip. I think Sky's entire bag costs less than probably 95% of the players on tours shooting cue.
Yeah, he just worries about less than everybody else does, and it gives him the freedom to play. And
his avid cue, jump cue, and break cue are all probably a combined like $750.
Oh, his break cue's horrible. I keep saying to them, I can't stand it. Standing beside the table and listening to them break. It's just the noise of this thing is just horrible.
And that's a fact. I mean, it probably is literally a fact. I mean, Sky,
he doesn't care, and he doesn't worry about it. He doesn't care. He doesn't care about the noise it makes. He doesn't care.
He just runs out. Yeah,
exactly. He just breaks with it and goes on from there.
What is the value of all of your entire bag, Sky? Your bag and your cues? Is it less than 1,000? Probably pretty close.
But if he ever sells it, it'll cost you more than 3.
It'll cost. If you sign them all, right.
Yeah.
But that's the fun part about it. Well, 800 max. That's and he still is going to run out better than
max. Yeah.
That's the fun part about it, right?
I mean, we talked about it for years. Before QTech updated all the ranges and stuff like that Shane was basically playing with $200 cue and snapping off 5 US Opens and stuff like that. So I mean, it just shows you it's not.
You just put the whole bag on sale.
That's a good thing.
Cues and everything in the pockets for 900.
900. Okay, start bidding.
That's a great thing. QTech should just sell a replica Sky bag with all the same gear in for 900.
Yeah, that's
it costs so much more than that
Sky
if you
pack.
want to copy another player's equipment.
The Sky pack, that would be perfect.
Yeah.
Time to get on the horn to Brett and get that. Make
Sky
that
just
happen.
wants new stuff. So if I sell this, I just get new stuff. It'd be great.
So after Sky beats Filler again in this year's Mosconi Cup, they can QTech can start marketing as.
Let's not get too carried away. The guy's played with a total of $900 worth of cues. He's not going to beat Joshua Filler with that amount of rubbish.
Well, like I said, when Sky beats Filler again in this coming year's Mosconi Cup, QTech can start selling a bag called the Filler Killer bag.
The
Filler
Killer. Yeah. The product come out with you. The Sky Woodward range, the Filler Killer. Yeah.
Kingslayer bag.
There you go. With that. And instead of like inlays or any like ring work on the bottom, it's just going to be like a BK hat with like a killer and like a cross through it.
One last year with a cheaper cue.
That's fine.
Oh.
If you can't have fun, what can you have,
Well, Shane Fuller's not watching this because I'm pretty sure he's not. But yeah. Unless they've got it on live at McDonald's where he lives, I don't know.
Maybe he'd be able to guy if he was paying attention, get all of the knowledge that we got on this beautiful podcast.
So who's your team then, do you think? Who's going to be your 3? Sky and Shane, obviously. Who's getting spot number 3, do you think? Because
probably Fedor.
No, none of them are going to the Asian Open, as far as I'm aware.
Oh no,
correct. I don't think so.
None of the ones that are in the running. So it's all going to be about the US Open.
It's all going to be.
It's just expensive.
Oh, right, the expense, right?
Yeah. I think last time when we did the show, like 15 years ago, Tyler said that Shane was the only person who was contemplating going.
Yeah.
No other Americans are going.
Yeah.
Right.
So really, all that means is that we're going to know both American players at the end of the U.S. Open.
Yeah,
likely that will be it because I don't think there's any particular.
Yeah, I'd have to look.
Any event that's going to make a big difference between them.
Well, Jason's event will be before the Asian Open, correct?
Yeah.
Well,
so that one,
that one, that's before the U.S. Open.
Yeah. Oh, it's before the U.S. Open.
That's the weekend before the U.S. Open.
The week before the U.S. Open. So, or no, it's the week before the International, isn't it?
No, it's not.
No, that's the Roanoke. That's
yes.
Roanoke.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, it's a Friday, Saturday before the U.S. Open, which starts
Yes.
on Monday.
So we'll know at the end of the U.S. Open who the 3 U.S. players are, right?
There's the Perry 9-ball Open in Vietnam. If you're not going to the Asian Open, I'm struggling to see how you would go to to Vietnam to play. And then
Getting out there on the limb, right?
there's nothing on the map. There's nothing on the Matchroom schedule between them.
Yeah.
So who do you feel? Who do you think gets in, and who do you want to get in?
I think this year's there's really only, I think, the 5th spot that's even open. It's I mean, of course you have Shane and Sky, which are obvious. I think Shane, Wolford, and Tyler are obvious. I just don't know who the 5th would be. I mean,
Billy's above Tyler, isn't he?
Yeah, but
right,
you got to pick Tyler no matter what. I mean, Tyler's performed. I mean, Tyler's becoming.
I don't disagree with you, but I'm talking about who you think is going to make the push at the U.S. Open and get spot number 3.
Well, that's going to be interesting. I mean, I'd like to see the 3 of them really put the effort in to get number 3. Because a couple of them probably have a pretty good feeling that they're going to be on the team either way. But I want to see it still mean something. So I think the guy that I'm going to be happiest for is the guy who performs the best at the U.S. Open, because he's going to show that he's a solid number 3 for the team. And personally, I think that would be between Shane Wolford and Tyler. I think Tyler played really pretty well in the European. It was interesting that Johan was there with him. And if he played well, I don't think there's a real coincidence there. But I think it'll be really interesting to see how they fare at the U.S. Open.
And we haven't talked about the Brendan Crockett Memorial, but he just lost Hill in the final match to Shane. I mean, Shane broke and ran on the hill. Tyler and Shane were in the finals of that. And that was, it wasn't
10 ball.
Yeah, 10 ball.
Sure.
Tyler is closer to Shane at 10, but is a long way closer to Shane at 10 ball than he is at 9 ball.
Correct.
I'm not arguing with that, but he's still there. I mean, he's still at the end of the event.
No, it's still a hell of an achievement to take Shane to Hill at any game, and he must have been playing well. Going back to what Mike said, if I'm the American captain, I'm thinking completely different there. If I'm an American captain, the guy that I want to see performing is Billy.
Oh yeah, give me some good feels.
Because I need 5 players. I need 5 players, and 4 of them you think are probably in already.
Yeah.
I need to have 5 players. I need somebody like Billy to show me that he's in form and he's ready to go.
And what I'm saying is, I'd be happy if he took the number 3 spot.
Yeah.
Because then that would show the progression, the progress that you're looking for as a captain, saying, okay, these guys are hitting on more cylinders, than they were going into last year's. And so that's the encouraging part. And I remember last year mentioned, what I want to see out of Team USA hopefuls this year is that their ranking points are more than they were last year.
Yeah.
Last year, you could have gotten an automatic berth with $8,000. So I wanted to see that there was some progress in the players, and that would be by how much money they earned in all these other events. So it's going to be interesting to see it. And I'm with you. I would love to see Billy finish best of all 3 in the U.S. Open and earn the 3rd spot, because he's the one that we need to see the most. We need to get more comfortable with where he's at, right?
Exactly. It's your 5th player that you need to start seeing perform, and the other guys have all kind of done it to a certain extent.
Right.
He's going to have to do significantly better than the other 2, though, to get that 3rd spot.
Well, he's ahead of Tyler right now, isn't he?
No.
He's only got Shane Wolford in front of him.
No. Tyler and Shane are both in front of him.
Yeah. But they're all close. They're all within like $2,000 or something like that.
Yeah, they're all within 2,000. But unless you get into the
last 2,000, 2,000 at the U.S. Open is like you better finish
16s.
Yeah. So
right.
Someone's going to have to do significantly. Billy's going to have to do significantly better than the other 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tyler's at 13,500. Billy's at 12,250, and Wolford is at 16,950. So Shane is
pretty much in.
It's probably going to take at least a quarterfinals from Tyler with a poor performance from Shane.
Yeah, Shane would have to knock Cash and Tyler get quarterfinals.
Correct.
Yeah, pretty much.
What is the payment for the quarterfinals?
Quarterfinals about 4.5.
That's enough to pass.
Wow, that's really interesting. Neil Soloway said that on a live stream in California, Margaret said that Tyler's going with Shane for a month to Asia and Vietnam. So it sounds like Tyler's going to play in the Asian Open.
I'd be surprised if he wasn't, because that is his opportunity. If he knows the others,
Yeah, sure. If you want to assure yourself that fifth spot, you get any kind of money in Asia and you're in. But it's still a big investment.
Well, no, I mean, you got to go to Vietnam.
You know what you're also doing is you're showing up.
Yeah,
Showing up.
100%.
You're doing what
showing
Emily and Matchroom have been encouraging the players to do. Play the events, go to the events. He's showing Jeremy that he's dedicated and he wants to be there.
Jeremy was visibly not happy that Shane Wolford skipped the Spanish and the European.
Yeah.
Was not crazy about that. So we'll see. I don't know what kind of impact that's going to have on Jeremy's selection process, but he's gonna hold his feet to the fire a little more than the other guys, I would think.
Yeah. But you've got to say then, given that Tyler's going to have 2 more competitions than Shane Wolford, you've got to say he's slight favourite, right, to get that 3rd spot, wouldn't you say?
I tell you what, just cashing at that Asian Open is going to be tough.
You've got 2 of them, right? You've got the Perry one and you've got the Asian one. There's a lot of money in both of the competitions.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I think.
So I'm looking at. I have our answer. I have our answers here for. So it looks like the U.S. as far as the U.S. side of things, Shane Wolford is at 16,950, and Tyler's at 13,500. So he's basically 3,500. The quarterfinals is just shy of $7,000. So Tyler could actually get last 16, assuming that Shane didn't do anything.
What's last 16 then?
45.
This last 16 is 4.5. Okay.
So I would have to assume that if
Tyler is, if he's on his game, Tyler is the last 16 player. He has that game to get that far. And it's on home soil.
But so is Shane Wolford.
Yes, so does Shane Wolford. But it could go either way. One of them could do it. The other, yeah.
It's kind of a moot point with the extra 2 events. That doesn't really. It's kind of moot what happens at the US Open to a certain degree. It takes the sting out of it.
I think it's kind of a moot point because I think these 2 are going to be about as locked in at this point as anybody else. Shane and Sky. How do you not pick Shane? And let's assume that one of them qualifies. Let's just assume that. Well, either one. It doesn't really matter. How does Jeremy not pick the other one as the 4th or the 5th, for that matter? I mean, who's in there? Who else is out there in the U.S.?
I think these players probably know that as well. But if that's your mindset going into the tournament, you're not going to do well.
Exactly.
Probably. Yeah.
But this is a situation USA have been in for a number of years now. There's certain players who know that it doesn't really matter what they do; they're in the team, and it seems that amount of players, rather than decreasing, is actually increasing. Which is not what you want. You want that Shane is coming in the team every year. That's fair enough, but it should only be them. There should be enough players fighting that the other 3 spots are up for grabs, and it doesn't seem to be that way.
Yeah.
No.
And it's the players' fault as well. Like Jeremy's not happy that Shane's not traveling to all the events, but he's traveled to more than most have, so he's put himself in the position. You got to play the events and build up that money. You can't just be hoping for one strike. I mean, it can happen that just one good event gets you there, but you can't be banking on that.
Yeah.
No.
Kind of is what it is.
What else we got?
We kind of mentioned the Brendan Crockett Memorial. Again, we said it was 10 ball, but I think it's worth mentioning.
Yeah, great event. Good team.
Yeah. Good final.
Savannah Easton.
Good cause.
Pretty awesome. I think it's pretty cool to see Savannah Easton make the cash. I think there was 160 players-ish, something like that, and she placed 32nd, I think.
She beat Joey Tate. She beat Joey in one of the rounds, I think, right?
She did, yeah. That's pretty awesome to me.
Yep, definitely. What's the name of there's an Asian kid plays out of Is it Prasad?
Yeah, Adrian.
Adrian Prasad.
Yeah. I think he
Great
did pretty
kid.
well as well. I think he beat Oscar. Oscar's like his mentor, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a good
Yeah.
kid. Shows some talent.
Yeah, I think he's like 16. He's playing about 6. I think his par goes right around 650.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
he's playing.
I watched
much
him
better than that.
last year at the U.S. Open. He had Moritz on the rope and lost. But yeah, he's a good, solid young player.
Yeah.
A lot of
And a good
ability.
kid.
Good kid.
Can
Yeah,
we just answer Laura's question there? Laura's always joining us. I think fairly answer one of our questions, which is about the Mosconi Cup, thinking the winner of the Mosconi Cup playing against the Asians. Emily said that's happening. It will happen. It's just a question of time. We don't know when. Matchroom are working on it. They're looking into the possibilities. Yeah. You could probably expect it to happen in Asia because that will create a huge fan base and a huge crowd for it. And yes, it will happen. And good luck to all the Asian players trying to get in that team. It could well be that the very first team is more of a superstars kind of team kind of thing, just to get it off the ground. Rather than
Asian Dream Team.
The Asian Dream Team,
Yeah. How do you narrow that down to 5?
Exactly. How do you make that team?
You just
well, I know where it starts.
A little tougher than the USA team.
Tougher than any team. Toughest.
I know where the list starts. The list starts with Efren.
I don't know if he gets.
No, not a chance.
He will be captain of the team.
Yeah, maybe captain.
You got to get him involved somehow.
Well, of course.
It wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me. Bustamante is still playing at a decent level. Bustamante could be any still playing at a decent level.
They're gonna name it after Efren, so they don't have to worry about him playing. They just have him stand there waving to the crowd.
Exactly.
But yeah, Boosty. I don't know that. I don't think he's top 5 in Asia.
No, but I think, like I said, I think the first team could well be a team of names.
That's what I'm thinking.
If they're smart, they want the first team to go out there and hammer the hell out of somebody. That's what I would want.
So
that's the way to do it.
It's okay. So Beato, Cole.
I don't know. Who do you pick? Beato? Do you pick Orcolo? I mean, I don't know. I don't know if those guys are there right now.
I pick Beato. Yeah, there's so many. We could be here all day. You've got all the Chinese guys, Wu and all that.
If it's not this year and it's next year, you could be looking at Raga. You could be looking at, you're probably still looking at both Ko's.
Probably Dang. Why wouldn't you pick Dang?
Yeah.
They're starting to get Dang and Chang are starting to get a little long.
He's not a one-hit wonder.
Yeah. He just won the Spanish Open.
Yes, he has to prove he's not a one-hit wonder. Is what I just said.
Well, and they can prove that. They just have to be out more. I mean, I think you'd probably have Wu on the team, even though he hasn't really, have won anything in a number of years. But you'd certainly probably think that he's a favorite for the top 5.
Location will have a big impact on who gets in the team as well.
It's got to be in the Philippines, right? The first one's got to be in the Philippines.
Or Taipei.
Or Taipei.
Yeah.
Again, Taipei, you put both co-brothers in, and then you've got the other 3 spots. If it's in the Philippines, then Beato or Cole will get a better chance of being in it.
I don't even hate if it's in Vietnam, with how many Vietnamese champions are coming out right now.
No, I don't know. I think you're
lots of options. But Laura, it's going to happen, but we just don't know when. We're waiting for some sort of announcement.
Yeah. It's been happening for 5 years. So
exactly.
It'll come here sooner. They're like Floyd Mayweather. They're waiting for everybody to retire before they put their team out.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's Nate kind of said the BEF. Let's give a shout out to Sam. We haven't I guess I haven't had a podcast since then. Sam kind of goes and dominates the BEF. How awesome is that? Sam Henderson obviously is on the podcast periodically.
Yeah, did a great job. Won the
I
straight.
watched it. It was really good. It was really enjoyable to watch. The stream was good. I thought the guys did very well. It was the same guy that was in the stream at the Brendan Crockett.
Yeah. Collins newbie.
Sorry, Collins.
Collins newbie. Yeah.
Did a great job.
Great job.
Even Melina Mike was in the commentary doing talking about more than just one pocket. You can count to 9 and 10 and everything. It's amazing.
Yeah. Well, that's when you have to start to beef up your commentary, roster.
I thought they did a great job. I really enjoyed it. I actually watched it in summertime when I was on holiday in Turkey.
Yeah, and then we talk about the BEF. Savannah finished. She was in the final of all 5 divisions for the girls. The 18 to 20, the 14 to 16 to whoever. It didn't matter what age group or what game they were playing. She was in the final.
She's just
greedy.
greedy.
I'm sorry?
She's greedy.
She is greedy. I
You
love
have to
that
be
about
greedy.
her.
You know,
I love that about her. She is greedy.
Exactly.
She's a
you want to be a
competitive
top
little.
player, you got to be greedy.
Yeah, she is. She got
All the
those,
top,
that,
all the top pros are greedy.
Yeah.
They just want to eat up everybody.
yeah, she got that big smile, but she wants to kill you. Trust me. Yeah. So good stuff.
Yeah.
What was the score in the Fedor Chohan one pocket match?
Oh, 21 to 7.
7.
21 to
Yeah.
7, I think.
Was it 7?
Yeah.
I thought 9.
I think he got. I think he got
7.
4-3. Oh no, 9. 4-3
9.
and 2.
Was it?
Yeah.
4-3 and 2 over the 3
21-9.
days.
I thought it was.
Yeah.
I was thinking it was 2-3-2.
No, 4-3-2. It was
4-3-2.
one better every day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Federer just jumped on and called Shane out to play whatever game he wants,
Any game
whenever
he
he
wants.
wants to
He
play,
has the
anywhere,
choice.
anytime. I love.
What was it he said? He has options.
You gotta love that kid. He is just. He's he's got some stones. So good.
What do you think, Shane?
I mean, pick a game for Shane to play him.
It'd be
Well,
10 ball.
Shane's
wouldn't it?
got to play 10. Got to want to play him 10 ball
Yeah.
10 ball or one pocket.
or one pocket. One of those two.
You got to say 10 ball. But
Yeah.
You
I
reckon?
think
I think
Shane
he
has a
picked
better
because
chance
I
in
don't think
one
Shane
pocket.
really likes
I think
one
he's got better
pocket.
chance in one
I
pocket
think
as well.
I think
No,
Shane
but I
is
think
just
Shane
great at
actually
one.
wins. I think Shane wins in one pocket. I think 10 ball is probably a coin flip, and I think probably Federer wins in 9 ball or Banks.
8-ball bar table.
Yeah, there you go. Then Sky will
think
jump in.
I think anything bar table. I think Shane's probably going to dominate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that might have to be what he's called. I mean, if Federer's calling him up and says, you have options, any you want, right, 8-ball bar table.
Yeah.
If he's getting the option to play any game he wants,
Yeah.
how funny would that be?
It would be funny. It would be
Right,
disappointing, but it would be funny.
100K.
It'd be very, very interesting to see if Federer would actually play it at that point. Because I'm sure he wasn't picturing bar table when he said that.
He'd have to.
Yeah.
Have to play.
Can't say no now. He's basically just said, we'll do anything you want.
Well, Shane supposedly is going to have a response sometime today or tomorrow, so we'll see what he says.
I'm actually kind of liking the idea that these little gambling matches are kind of going by the wayside. They were fun. They were entertaining, especially during the COVID time when there wasn't a lot of tournaments to watch. But
Yeah, no, I'm kind of done with. I've never been a huge fan of them, but they're interesting.
they scratched an itch for a lot of years when there wasn't a lot of promotion out there. But I like I'm not a big gambler myself, so I like the tournament dynamic. Anybody can get their face kicked in, flip the coin, and win the next set. You know what kind of a player are you when you don't have the option to lose? I like that. I like that more.
I think it's good getting to see the top guys playing long races, though. You don't get to see them getting stroke all the time in the tournaments because the shorter races, the longer ones, you get to see some really, really high caliber stuff that you see very seldom in tournaments, I'd say.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, they serve a purpose. I just don't want them every other week.
Yeah. There's some novelty to them, but if they're all the time, then
And it's only certain players that will ever get the attention as well.
Right.
You're going to have 0 viewers if me and Chris play each other to 120 10 ball because nobody gives a crap.
Well, nobody wants to watch 120 to 0.
Nate would watch, Jim.
I'd win at least one.
Nate would watch. Nate would watch just to torture you on the stream.
He's tried that before. It didn't help him.
Mike, don't even talk shit about this because you know good and goddamn well whatever fun I'm going to be making fun of them, you're going to be in the comments with me doing the same thing. So don't even act like you wouldn't be there with me.
I don't ever take anybody down. I don't talk down at anybody.
Sit down. Can I say that?
Now you're talking down to Jim.
Sit down.
Now you can talk down to Jim. There you go.
I can.
But yes, okay. We're going to hear from Shane soon. His answer
Hopefully,
to that.
yeah.
We'll see what he comes up with. Where does Tony Chohan go from here? Back to Chip Compton and those guys.
Yeah, it's kind of getting to that point, isn't it? Seems like it.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of said this after his matchup with Alex. It's there's just nobody else out there for him to play. Now Federer kind of came out of nowhere and he beat him the one time, but Demetrius says this all the time. It's like at some point in time, the knowledge gap isn't enough to make up the striking gap. And you can do a lot more to learn the knowledge gap in a small amount of time than you can. Like if Tony hasn't made up the striking gap in the 30 years he's been playing this game, he's not going to make it up in the next 3 months.
He's never
Vader
had to
can
play
make
that
up.
style. He's never had to play that style. He was the guy before that was with all the firepower, and now there's like 3 or 4 guys out there that have
3 or
switched
4?
over from mainstream.
Yeah.
I'm just, I'm picking the
Yeah.
obvious ones. There's 3 or 4 that can go out there and just blow them away. So there's 2 distinct fields now in the game. Pagalion's probably in between the 2. You got to say he's the best of the old school players.
Yeah, he's still the bar you measure by.
Yeah.
I don't know about GOAT. I don't know GOAT right now. He's
There's just levels
Wow.
to every game.
I don't think he'll ever be bigger than Efren when it comes to one packet.
Yeah, you're right there. Yep.
So.
But so we've almost been. I mean, I'm not a huge one pocket ambassador, but we did miss out on Alex because his domination over the rest of the one pocket field basically meant that we did not get to see him for 15 years.
He killed his action very quickly.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know exactly how good Alex was at one pocket, besides in race to 3 or race to 4 style one pocket,
right.
Which anybody can win a race to 3 in one pocket when you're talking about some of the best players in the world. We didn't get to see him. We've seen him play Tony twice, giving weight. We've seen him play
Scott
Frost. Like 10 years ago. And the only thing that we saw was domination from him every single time. We don't know how good he actually was.
Even it was interesting that Federer's conversation after beating Tony, they talked about, Alex and Tony said, and Federer said, that's, I'm not in a long race. I'm not in it against Alex. He's got too much knowledge. He's got, I just can't keep up with that. He can put me in spots where I don't know how to get out of because he knows what's going on. It was really interesting to hear him say that because he doesn't shy away from anybody. And he doesn't, he puts his ability up against anybody in his mind as well. But I thought that was kind of like the ultimate tip of the cap to Alex as being just that next level, the bar that everybody's measured by.
Well, I mean, honestly, it's like watching Michael Jordan in his prime, but not like Alex with one pocket, but not against like NBA players. He's playing against like G Leaguers.
Yeah.
To the point where like he just isn't allowed to play because no one will play with him.
Yeah.
I mean, I just wish we actually knew how good Alex was and got to see him a little bit more.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
In the meantime, he's in playing 8-ball.
Yeah.
Gotta find action somewhere. I'd like to see him play one pocket with some Chinese 8-ball players on one of the 8-ball tables.
That's all too complicated for me.
I know. I got a headache
I'm
just saying that.
I'm not a big one pocket fan at the best of times. Although I did recently watch a one pocket match for a little bit of time.
Yeah.
Not because it was top quality, it was just funny.
Yeah.
Well, anything else anybody wants to talk about?
No.
Matchroom Incorporate in the World 9-Ball Tour, WNT.
Yeah. Okay. Can we talk about the name of the corporation?
Yeah. Who came up with that mouthful?
I know. I'm like, really? You couldn't come up with anything that wasn't as like War and Peace-ish as that? I mean, holy cow. I mean, you can't even make a logo on that thing. So it's like, why not just World Pool Corporation? Done. We're done. And then you can do it's like PDC. You got a little WPC.
Well, I think they had to make sure 9-ball was in it.
Why? They don't call any of their events 9-ball championships.
They
None
call
of
them
them.
pools.
It's the World 9-ball Tour.
It's the World Pool Championship. It's the
World 9-ball Tour. It's the World 9-ball Tour.
I know that the corporation is
World Pool Championships
for everything they do in pool, including the Mosconi Cup, including the World Pool Masters, which are not World 9-Ball Tour, all that kind of. So there really wasn't any real need to have 9-ball in it, to me. And so, we're sitting here arguing about the name of the damn corporation, but I just thought it was very funny when I first saw it.
It is a mouthful.
Oh, God, please say that 4 times in an interview, Emily, and then you'll change it. Trust me.
But it's a distinct part of their branding, the 9-ball stuff. Jim's got one of the T-shirts on. Kerry's in the chat here somewhere. So Kerry might be able to tell us, why they're sticking with that particular brand name, but still calling the tournaments pool.
Right.
using referring to
Well,
all
Barry
that.
always said he never wanted to call it 9-ball because he wanted people to think that whatever they were showing is the only game. He didn't want any differentiation between his event and anybody else's event. So it was always pool. It was always the World Pool Championship when they ran it, even in the late 1990s, early 2000s. So he never wanted to, make some distinction between his game and anybody else. He was the best pool game. And so it was always the pool championship.
Yeah.
So, I get that, and that's fine. So, and I get why they now have since branded 9-ball to try to, again, find a different way of separating themselves from everyone else, because now they're taking their ball and going home with it. But you can kind of, I think they kind of got caught in between this corporation. As far as the corporation itself, Jim, what do you take away from it as being, the first question I asked was, okay, what's different today than yesterday? You created this corporation, you got this name. What's different today than yesterday? What do you think?
In a nutshell,
Yeah.
they don't have to answer to anybody other than themselves now.
Yeah.
For me, that's the big benefit to it. They can now do anything they want because they don't need permission from anybody.
They built a new foundation to a skyscraper they're about to erect. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah, and so and to me that made all the
every rule, every idea will just be passed, and it will be approved, and it will be so.
Right. And so that makes all the sense in the world to me. And to me, what beyond that, what it told me was that they're all in. That this is a commitment, a financial commitment by this company to start a company, and this is going to be now you're going to be held accountable as a company for the P&L, for growth, for all that kind of stuff. And so as much as I always thought Matchroom was all in anyways, because Barry just doesn't usually give up on things, this to me was even more of a statement of we're all in as a company.
We've been talking about since Matchroom started doing this. We've been talking about likening it to what they did with the darts with the PDC. This was the step that I was looking for to confirm to me that they are doing that is where they're going.
Right.
Because that's what they did with the PDC. They turned around to the BDO, the original one. Yeah. They said to them, they said, we want this, we want this, we want this, and we're taking these players, these players, these players. The BDO fought against them. They turned around and said, we'll do it without you. Yeah. And they just walked away from them. And they took the players, and then very slowly the players just started filtering over. And now the BDO basically became an amateur tournament with no money in it. An amateur tour with no money in the World Championships. They didn't even pay out one of the players. They didn't have the money for it, one of the winners. And this is where we are now. Yeah. We are back where they were in the PDC. The PDC, when Barry Hearn went to the BDO and said, are you with us or are you against us? And the BDO said, we don't like what you're doing. See you later. And this is exactly what's happened with the WPA now.
Yeah.
You can be with us or we do it on our own. Yeah. And I think, Barry talks in his interviews, as he's supposed to do, to say, we want the WPA to be with us. All we wanted was the rankings from them. We want to work with them. We want to do this. We want to do that. We want to still be involved with the WPA. Secretly, this is probably exactly what he wanted.
Oh, for sure.
He just wanted to say, we're just going to do it on our own.
Yeah.
And he's got reasons for it.
Without looking like we turned our back on anyone.
We didn't do this, we didn't do that. We're doing it on our own.
Yeah. I think the separation is good for everyone because now everyone else can just go take their other games, their other whatever, and do what they want. And there's no interference, right?
Well, so, Mike, you've been in this industry longer than all of us. Do you think that the WPA has a leg to stand on with the rest of the industry?
Yeah.
Do you think Predator now looks at them and says, all right, we're still going to work with you? Or do you think Predator just says, all right, well, okay.
I think they
because Predator are not in a position to do what Matchroom have done and create their own corporation.
Right. I don't think that was ever their goal, but they had different goals, different business plans, different approaches to how they were going to, achieve whatever goal they were trying to set up. But I don't think, I think that the WPA still has, its area with Predator, with these other events, whether Predator runs them or someone else, China Open, whatever it's going to be, Qatar, there's still value there and there's still connection there with various federations around the world. There's always going to be value there. How do they make the best use of it? They got to figure that out, and they need to figure that out fast. And I think that they will make an attempt to throw an olive branch Matchroom's way and say, listen, we know you got a corporation, you're doing your own thing. There's still room for us to be part of that in some form or fashion of assistance or whatever whatever you can do.
But they're going to have to do this very, very soon because, I mean, I'm not sure why, but they still have the World Championships. I can only assume that's a contractual obligation that is still has to be
from when they bought the World Championship.
Yeah, that still has to be on, but that can't be unlimited. That's probably for let's just throw a number out there and say for another 2 years, and then Matchroom can just turn around and say, right, we're taking that.
I'd be surprised if there's a year thing on it. I would assume that it would be perpetuity because all Matchroom contracts say perpetuity.
Yeah. So I'm surprised. Why not? Yeah. When does that get taken away from the WPA as well? I mean,
I don't know.
Well, I would assume that the WPA or the actual World Pool Championships, that's like an actual sanctioned thing, right? Like the reason why there wasn't I guess a world champion 8-ball for all but like 3 years in the last 20 was because the WPA didn't sanction it, right? You got to actually like be sanctioned to be a quote unquote
Nobody
world
wants
champion.
It doesn't matter. For about 20 years, there was 2 darts world champions. You call it a world champion. You make your own event. You can turn around and say we're crowning a world champion.
Sure.
You're doing that.
Sure,
that was always the problem with pool in the past, and that's why this has been a good thing over the years to have one.
But that's kind of my point, right? Is like maybe, or I think the WP actually gives credence to being a world champion at that point. If they stop working with them on the World Pool Championships, then that person is no longer a world champion. They could say they're a world champion, but they're not going. They
could be the World 9-ball Tour world champion, but they're not on the same list with the guy who won the WPA World Championship in 1999 or 2007. Right,
so that's the reason why you continue to work with them.
Okay, you don't go in the history list.
Right,
okay.
right.
So that's why you continue to work with them.
Yeah. Okay, but the US Open,
it's painful.
The US Open is no longer WPA. Is there a new list of US Open champions now?
Well, that's different. You're not. If you
US
win
Open US Open was only WPA sanctioned. It wasn't the WPA World Championship. It wasn't the WPA anything. I mean, it was like any other event sanctioned by the WPA. World Championships are something different that they own.
Yeah,
right.
I would say the prestige of winning the U.S. Open is to get that green jacket. The prestige of winning the World Pool Championships is you are now a world champion, right? You don't become a world champion by winning the U.S. Open, in title or in general, right?
Yeah.
I mean, what are you talking about in the long run? The difference between, the Wikipedia page of World Pool Champions is still going to be updated with your name on it, regardless of whether it's WPA or not. What's the difference? You're still world champion.
I don't know. Is that true? Is that true? Is it? If you look at the World
Pool Wikipedia page,
it won't.
Sure, but
it won't be on the Billiard Digest page.
There you go.
I got my edition of Billiards Digest today. It's still freshly in it. I'll be opening that up later on.
Nice. Nice. I hope you learned something. There's some good instruction in there to help you be a better player, Jim.
I would say
next time you lose 9-1. Read that book.
Wow. Canceling his subscription. Right here.
I don't know. It was low hanging fruit. I had to go there.
Sorry. Yeah. But I mean, they had this discussion. They had this discussion with the darts as well. They ended up with 2 world champions. One said we're the legitimate world champion. The other one said we're the legitimate world champion. You still.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at the world.
Same thing, right?
I'm looking at the World 8-ball champions, and I'm seeing Francisco Sanchez Ruiz in 2022. 2012 is Cheng Jung Lin. 2011 is Dennis Arcoyo. 2010 is Carl Boyce, and so on and so forth. But what I don't know, and Mike, you'll be able to know this, was there any stretch in there? So it's 2022, 2012, 2011, 2010, 2008, 2007, 2005, 2004. Was there any stretch in there where they held it, but it wasn't WPA sanctioned?
No.
Okay, so then those are the only years that the World 8-ball
nobody bothered calling their event the World 8-ball Championship because it was not, it had no value. So I could have called an event in Beloit that if I wanted to, but no one's going to even know that it ever happened.
Yeah,
So
there's 4 or 5 different World 8-ball championships every single year.
I think Marcus Shamat tried to get his 8-ball tournament to be some sort of a version of a world championship, but it was never.
Yeah, and if you want to do that as a world, then you contact the WPA and say what it's going to cost. They're going to say it's going to cost you $100,000 added or whatever it's going to be. And if you can't do it, I mean, that was the whole thing with the World Straight Pool Championship.
Yeah.
How it fell out of being sanctioned and then was just the world tournament of 14.1, right? So it kept going, but it doesn't have the stamp on it, which some people say has value and some people say don't.
So then, to be clear, am I not a world champion for winning the Cue It Up Tour Stop Finals last year?
That's 100% true.
Damn it!
You are not a world champion. Yes.
But going back to the incorporation of the WNT, what we're actually going to have for maybe the first time ever is a full professional list of 128 players, a full professional tour, an actual global tour.
That would be great. It would be great to get to that point where there's, it's all about structure and legitimacy and credibility. The next thing we got to do is get the money to the point where being a pro adds up to being a pro.
Yeah. Right.
Someone commented earlier where, you're fighting for the third spot, automatic spot on Team USA with $16,000 over the first 8 months. That's not going to get you very far as a professional tour player. So, that's something that obviously everybody is pushing for going forward as well is more money.
And yet there's people online that are like making fun of 16-year-olds for holding fundraisers so that they can get to Austria. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Poor Sam Henderson. Getting picked on. Somebody actually has the baldacity. Did you see any of this, Mike, by chance? No. Chris? Somebody actually called Sam Henderson out on Facebook asking where his money goes when he wins a tournament and why isn't he using that to fund his trip to Austria? A 16-year-old kid. There's literally somebody that's basically telling a 16-year-old kid that he should be fully funding a trip to Austria to go represent the United States of America.
You should never bring up stuff like this, Nate, unless you're willing to bring up the person's name and Facebook list.
And I know what I was doing with my winnings when I was 16 years old, but we're not going to talk about that on the podcast.
No. Well, it's legal now in the U.S. So
I got no problem. I got no problem calling him out. Where's it at? Tim Bringman. Apparently, he is the ACS president of Iowa. I got no problem bringing his name up. Yeah.
He's picking on one of his own kids.
Well, he says, what does he say here? I'm going to be a dick.
Well,
what happens?
Success guaranteed.
This is his exact quote.
No argument there.
I am going to be a dick, period. But what happens to Sam's winnings and sponsors' support? They have a problem. They literally have a problem with this dude has a problem with a 16-year-old running a fundraiser to afford to go to Austria because he can't go alone. So he's got to take at least one of his parents. Nate's in the comments here. Nate's his dad. So he's got a problem with what is a plane ticket right now to Austria, you think?
$2,000
return, I would say probably 1,500 US.
So let's just say 1,500. So you got 1,500 times 3. You're looking at $4,500 before you even step foot in Europe. You're looking at another week's worth of hotel. Let's just say that's another $1,500. Food. Let's just say it's another $500. You're looking at about a $7,000 trip before you even get there. And this dude, so Shane Tyree,
he didn't win that much in ACS tournaments in Iowa.
Yeah, I can't believe it. Right? You're telling me.
Can you not donate some of the winnings that you got from the Cue It Up Challenge thing that you won, World Championship thing that you won? That must have been big money. No?
Sorry, say that again. Sorry, I was reading Shane Tyree's. Say that.
Well, you must have won big money when you became world champion. Cue It Up.
Yeah,
actually, that was $3,000.
There you go. There's $3,000 for you. Yeah, Nate's just offered his $3,000.
No, I didn't. That's my money. I spent it on cat food. Oh no, so that's good. Shane Tyree said that the kids don't have to pay for hotel or breakfast for Worlds. That's good. That helps.
Parents get a free room too.
Free breakfast. Wow.
Yeah, that's a good question. Shane, does
the chaperones
the parents?
Yeah.
Do chaperones get a room as well, or they have to cohabitate?
I would assume that the
Parents do. The parents do have to pay.
There you go.
Oh, there's straight.
Okay.
Hey, I got it. I don't know if I did this in the last podcast. It was that long ago. That was a strong jump, Tracy. I tell you, you wouldn't have got me up there. I don't care I don't care which pool player it is. Nobody jumping off the top of the stratosphere.
That was the coolest. Yeah, that was the coolest thing. Yeah.
I'm so disappointed she didn't take me. I wanted to do it too.
We'd have made you do it without the rope.
Yeah.
I would have too. My big old ears would have like flapped and I'd have just flew down safely.
You'd have bounced.
No, but I mean, some people, I just don't understand where, like, this dude's like a representative of he's the president of ACS in Iowa, and he's like calling out a 16-year-old kid.
Yeah.
Like ACS?
It's an amateur pool league system in the state. It's through the it's around the country, I guess, but mostly Midwest.
Okay.
Yeah, mostly. Yeah.
Does he not get some sort of funding from was it a BCA event?
BCA.
Does he not get some sort of funding as qualifying through their system in order to go to these championships?
Well, apparently a room and breakfast.
Oh, so that's actually the BCA that are paying for that.
That's good.
I don't know. Well, I mean, Shane could tell me who's actually paying for that. I don't know who. This is the first time I've heard of that, so I honestly just didn't know that. I'm happy to be wrong. If that's the BEF that's supporting that or the WP, I don't know what's supporting that, so I'm sure Shane can tell us. But yeah, I mean, it's just and if Sam is in the wrong for being 16 and winning tournaments, where do you draw the line? Is Savannah like, if she runs a fundraiser, is she
absolutely run a fundraiser to go to Europe?
Now is she? Should we be a dick to her and say that she should be using her winnings for that? Like, are we expecting a 12-year-old to have a fully functional professional career where they're fully?
It's about time she takes care of her own stuff.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah, that's back when I was a kid, we were walking uphill both ways in 25 feet of snow just to make 15 cents. I just don't. I don't get it. I don't understand how you're putting that kind of onus, a $7,000 to $8,000 onus, on a 16-year-old kid and telling them to be functional with their finances to be able to afford that.
Believe me.
That's social media, isn't it?
If the pros could get away with running a fundraiser to go to the Asian Open, they would. Trust me.
And you said it. The guy started his comment perfectly by saying, "I'm about to be a dick." And
yeah.
So,
but I don't think it's anything new, really. So I don't know why he said I'm about to be a dick, because my guess is that he's got a pretty good track record.
Okay.
I'll tell you what, it's a lot easier to pick on 16-year-olds than it is people your own age, huh? And Shane says the BCA does not pay this time. Predator as a host pays. BEF is building. Okay, so the Predator is basically putting that together.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sending 12 players gets expensive quick. I guarantee it.
Yeah. Well,
yeah. What a great way to end the show. Wasn't that fantastic?
We have to do one more thing, though. We have to answer Kerry's question because he's asked it twice.
I've ignored it twice as well, just because it's Kerry.
Hey! This isn't a walking billboard for onboard sportswear. You want to get that kind of treatment? You better start upping that up that money. Let's go.
You're the only one that gets paid by them.
That's true.
Yeah. Do you have a picture of what he's talking about?
I don't have a picture.
Throwback jerseys.
I've seen them. I've seen them. The 30th anniversary jersey. They look quite nice.
I don't have a picture of it. That's why I didn't.
I was hoping they'd go back to those red, white, and blue stripe ones they had back when Earl was playing.
Kerry, if you want to send me a picture
the
on WhatsApp, I'll throw it up.
Like clowns can out. Yeah.
I just don't have it, so I can't talk about something I've never seen.
Shall we dedicate a portion of next week's show to the shirts, and we'll get all the graphics and stuff like that, and then next week's show we can show everybody what the Mosconi Cup shirts are going to look like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm wearing on board. I'm wearing the Alaska range. I'm already promoting them. Look at this. But yeah, we can do that.
Look at you. You're ready for winter. It's 100 degrees outside, Nate.
He doesn't go outside. Look at his skin.
Matches your hair, old man.
Hey, that's unnecessary.
It was good.
Okay.
Right.
Gary's on top of things. We got him.
Yeah, Kerry, get all the graphics over to us and we'll pop it up here.
He already did. I'm on it. Here, hold my beer. Whoops, got rid of the chat. Sorry. I don't know what I'm doing.
You have to put a driver's ed.
See, this is
sticker
why
on
we
your
said we could probably do it
screen.
next week. At this rate, it will be next week before it comes up.
Yeah, yeah.
Shut up, Jim.
We just hit an hour and a half.
Yeah, no, come on. World Athletics Championships are on.
My lunch is getting warm.
Oh, wrong one.
This
This one. Here's the sneak peek at them.
Yeah.
If they're
very nice.
already ready to go, Carrie, why don't I have one? Why didn't you send one to me yet? This is BS.
So
I should already have one of these.
let me ask this: is if you're left-handed, is the blue on the other shoulder?
See, this
Ooh,
is
that's a
this
good
is what I
question.
liked at the World Pool Masters.
It was very
Left-handed
cool,
guys
wasn't it?
can-
You
yeah.
brought that up, and I hadn't noticed it, and I
Yeah,
was
I
like,
really
"Wow, that
enjoyed
is
it. I thought
very
that's-
cool."
I thought that the details, you know, that's it.
The
That's
detail,
what makes
it's-
a quality product is the details, and I
Right,
really
it's all in
enjoyed
the
it.
detail. That was
The
very cool.
left-handed players had the
Although,
sleeves all the way
you
around.
know, I don't know what they would do for John Mora.
You'd have one to break with and one to play with.
He'd have to change shirts between shots.
He'd have to go in. That's pretty
No, they're
funny.
good. I like them. They're nice.
Yep.
Yeah, very nice.
I think,
I don't know.
I think we should all get free ones.
Yeah, I don't see why we wouldn't, right?
Yeah, 100%.
At least me.
Certainly now that we've talked about them, and you know,
Yeah,
Yeah, we
get
are
to the
talking.
European one as well. Then,
Oh, you want to see that one too?
well, they're going to win, so
very
That's
nice.
pretty good.
I got to say the American ones stands out a bit better, doesn't it? I like
Yeah,
the
it's got a little contrast too with the different colors, which is cool. But these are cool too. Yeah,
Yep.
nice design, clean, sharp.
I
Good
think
stuff.
the blue one goes better with the gold medal and the
Yeah, good stuff.
So, Carrie, when are we going to be able to start ordering these? All the people in the chat want to know now. Except for I haven't gotten mine yet, so I feel like we all should get one.
If they're still going to be using DPD for the delivery system, then we're too late to order them.
And there you go.
Yeah, I was going to
Yeah.
say, feel free to take that down now.
Right,
Okay.
are we done?
Yep,
Yep.
we're done.
100%.
Pre-order available straight after US Open. So get to Onboard
All right.
Sportswear, get on board, onboardsportswear.com, and get yourself get in there quick before they all sell out and get your shirts.
Yeah, especially if you're going to go, especially if you're going to be in London for it. But they sold out in about 15 minutes, and there was a lot of very angry people.
Yeah,
Are we doing
you
something-
got to bring a little more inventory with you this year, guys.
Yes, I think they're learning that every event. They're
Yeah.
getting more and more.
Yeah.
Are
I don't
we,
know if
are,
we
we,
can bring
are, we
enough.
doing a, are we doing a Q up shirt for this year?
Seems like we probably should, shouldn't we?
Yeah.
Are you going, Nate? Mosconi?
Yeah.
Attaboy.
I'm going to
I might even be sober for a part of it.
2 weeks in Vegas is going to seem like a holiday when I'm finished with them.
See, Jim likes to talk all this smack about it, but he knows that at the end of the night, I'm still going to be the only person there still drinking with him. So I don't know what he all talks this smoke for.
That's because the rest of my friends are all lightweights.
I'm still there at the end of the night, Jim.
Because you've got
So-
nowhere else to go.
Are you going to the US Open, Nate?
Yeah, I'll be there too.
You be at the US Open as well? Good.
Yeah, the only question I have right now is whether or not I'm going to go to the international. If I do, it's just going to be for the Hall of Fame banquet, though.
Okay.
So I got to look at the flights into Norfolk
Norfolk.
and decide what is a well. I guess we're in the same neighborhood now, aren't we? You flying out of Madison these days or O'Hare?
I'm mostly flying out of O'Hare. Yeah,
Okay, so you're
it's
still.
just- I'm closer to Milwaukee than Madison. But
That's why I asked. That's why I asked. I said Milwaukee, didn't I, or did I say Madison?
No, you said Madison, but it doesn't
Oh,
matter. It's just not worth it. So I mean, it's
the flights.
I mean, they're just I got to go nonstop, otherwise I'm not going.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. What are the flights from O'Hare to Norfolk? Do you think?
I will tell you in 1 second.
God, this is riveting podcast, isn't it?
Yeah. Sorry, I don't have the.
Chris,
price
how's
here.
your life going?
Huh?
How's your life going?
Good. Why?
Just wondering.
Yeah.
You look happy. I've never seen
Yeah.
you this happy before.
Mine, I'm giving out donuts left, right, and centre to some of the other European players. And...
The shit talk has started, and Jim's not even paying attention.
I've switched off now. Like I think most of our viewers probably have.
Yeah. It's like, yeah.
They're giving that. You get a little sun, and you just turn into the happiest little guy, Chris. I like it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're done. All right. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.